Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome! The Evocati finally have access to the features of Alpha 3.18, so let us take a look at the patch notes. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members. Thank you guys so much for the support, it is truly appreciated. So, it is finally time for the Evocati to actually test the 3.18 features and not just stress test the persistent entity streaming tech. Although that is still part of the focus for this patch, they have released more features, including enabling the Gen 12 changes. So, testing focus, as mentioned, is the persistent entity streaming playtest, the Gen 12 renderer, salvaging with the Vulture and Reclaimer, plus hand salvaging, and the ship soft deaths. And they do say, depending on stability, they will be leaving this build up overnight or longer. So fingers crossed it is still up and going well. And for the Gen 12 renderer, it does say that it's now fully enabled as of this build, and to report any issues relating to this if they notice any. So great to hear that that is now on, but as of yet, the Evocati report no significant performance improvements, and the clouds are still noisy, but that can still change once they get more people in. Now, there is another special objective for a few of the team members who will be watching the build and gathering all the data that they can after the most recent changes and stability. And if all proves stable, they want the Evocati to explore and test out the new features like the Vulture, salvaging, of which Gen 12 may not display the hull scraping correctly, ship soft deaths, racing track sites, bounties, cargo deliveries, and more. Now, for salvaging hull scraping, it has a little description and it says the first implementation of salvage into the PU, which includes both hull stripping as well as repair. And this includes both performing hull stripping and repairs by hand, as well as using systems on board the Drake Vulture and Aegis Reclaimer. Using highly advanced compression tech, these tools can break down ship and vehicle exteriors, converting them into recycled material composite, or RMC, and then store those in canisters attached. The player then has the option to either use the material to repair their own ship using the FPS multi-tool by filling in the damaged areas, or they can sell the material as a commodity, and also be able to scan and find salvageable shipwrecks amongst asteroid fields like the Rings of Yela. Now, we have heard that for the first implementation, which this will certainly change over time, the value of RMC is the equivalent to that of Quantanium, but it doesn't specify whether this is refined Quantanium or unrefined. With a full cargo hold of the Vulture, if it was unrefined, it would be around the 70,000 UEC mark, but if it was the price of refined Quantanium, 16 SCU of RMC would be around 140,000. So we'll have to wait and see what the values are, but of course this is just the first implementation and those values will change. Now, for the vehicle hull scraping, it says salvaging while in a vehicle is a mode like mining. To be able to scrape the hull of a newly found wreck, the target must have its shields turned off, which there is an indicator in the UI to inform you about the shield state of the ship, which is very nice to know. And to enter or exit salvaging mode, you press M by default, just like you would for mining. Now, players can right-click to cycle through the attached beams in the sub-item slot, and by left-clicking, players can activate and deactivate the scraper beam. There are two modes players can be in while salvaging by pressing G, which are converging and fixed mode. Fixed acts like weapons, and it points the salvaging beam directly where the player aims the ship, while converging mode allows players to gimbal the beams independently, with the left Alt plus mouse wheel being able to move the converging point, and left Alt plus right click will switch between vertical and horizontal converging mode. Also, players will need to manually remove filled storage boxes from their ship's salvaging area using a tractor beam and then move them into the ship's cargo grid, or of course convert that into RMC canisters for repairing. Now, finally, we have the FPS hull scraping and repair description, which says to utilize FPS hull scraping mechanics, players will first need to acquire the multi-tool, salvaging and repair module for it, and the ammunition canister for it as well. And as with ship hull scraping, players will be able to strip away the hull of a ship while the shields are down, of course, and store the RMC in the canister, which is going to be a lot less storage than a 1 SCU box, but also players can cycle between the salvaging and repair mode on the multi-tool by pressing the B key, and this will allow them to either scrape away material or use that collected material to repair the hull of a ship. So there we have it. There is quite a sizable known issues list as usual, with advice on how to avoid certain things and what not to do. But I'm so excited that the ball is now properly rolling with testing the features, as this gives me far more confidence that 3.18 could release this year. Again, it's not a guarantee, of course, but it's looking more and more promising. Hopefully we get to hear a bit more feedback regarding the Gen 12 activation for performance, but also on a side note, Orison's quantum travel boundaries have been decreased from 150,000 kilometers to 90,000 kilometers, meaning we don't need to travel for ages to get out of its atmosphere. So there is another win coming with 3.18. Anyway, with that said, that is the latest 3.18 build for the Evocati. It is now in somewhat full swing, as they're not just stress testing the new tech. But let us hope we're not waiting too long until at least a Wave 1. But as I say, please do consider subscribing and helping the channel to grow. And if you do want to hang out and talk all about Star Citizen while we wait for 3.18 to release, do head over to twitch.tv/supermacbrother. You are all more than welcome over there. Hit the thumbs up if you don't mind, does the channel a big favour, and tick that notification bell if you would like to be notified when my videos go live. Again, a huge thank you to my patrons and channel members. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.